According to researcher Lyman Steele, an average person spends 80% of their waking hours communicating, and that 45% of that time is devoted to listening. But in a traditional classroom, students spend over 70% of classroom time just listening. The sad fact is that a majority of people are inefficient listeners, mainly because very little is ever taught about effective listening strategies. Ask yourselves, did you ever have a teacher suggest to you ways on how to be a better listener? I know I didn't. Well, luckily for you, we are going to discuss the keys to effective listening and the ways you can apply listening strategies in the classroom to help students with verbal linguistic intelligence. So, what are the keys to effective listening? Well, one key to effective listening is judging the content and not the delivery. A strong listener would skip over the delivery errors like the or the dry speaking style, and focus on what was being said and not how it was being said. Next, listen for big ideas and central themes. A weak listener would only listen for the facts. It's also important to take notes appropriately. Surprisingly, weak listeners take more intensive notes using only one type of note-taking style, whereas a strong listener, depending on the speaker or material, takes fewer notes. Also, resist distractions. It is easy to get distracted when a speaker is slow or monotoned, but a strong listener would know how to concentrate and resist the urge to doodle. And finally, for those of you who didn't know, there is actually a time lag between the number of words the average speaker says in a minute and the average number of words a listener can process in a minute. Now, a good listener will take advantage of this extra time to activate their thinking and summarize and evaluate what was being said. Listening in the classroom can be implemented through telling and reading aloud stories, poetry, and biographies, all of which can spice up learning across the curriculum. People of all ages find it easy to remember information when it is encoded in a story. In fact, any topic or subject, really, springs to life when it is told as such. If you want to help verbal linguistic students in your class, you might want to invest some time reading aloud literature and having your student listen for important information. For example, science teachers, you guys can share a biography about the inventor Thomas Edison. While students listen, the story can help students humanize the inventor and bring his work to life. In a social studies class, teachers can use multicultural stories and have students listen and gather information about diverse cultures. Nevertheless, these suggestions are really only for engaging one of the fundamental components of verbal linguistic intelligence. For further information on listening, please refer back to Chapter 1 in your textbook. So I hope you guys were listening because now we're going to discuss about it in class.
Created using Powtoon.